So this is the stylish hoop bag, and this is the hardware kit that you can make this beautiful bag with the gorgeous hoop, little clasp there so you can open it, and it's just got pleating on there. It's really, really lovely. Inside the box you're going to get the actual hardware itself. Looks quite different, doesn't it? You've got two little templates. I'll pop that down so you can see. Two templates. And then if you look at this big one, you've also got a third one in the centre there. So those are your templates, made out of plastic. And you've got full written instructions as well. Let's put that down. There we go. So full written and pictorial instructions for the whole kit. And I'm going to show you how to put it together. So I've already cut all my pieces out, but I want to show you what I did to actually achieve that. So I would have put my template onto my chosen fabric, and so the fabric choice is entirely up to you, which is fab. So I've cut my interfacing, and two of those for the main fabric. I've cut two of the channels that take the hardware. So you see these pieces here? I've got the channels for those to go through. I've also got the little tabs here, so I've got these in the main fabric and the lining, and they go in the side of the bag. They go in here. So I'll show you more as I go along. And then obviously I've cut out my main fabric. You're looking at the wrong side there. My main fabric and my lining fabric as well. Again, that's the inside and that's the outside. Now I do recommend you actually draw with your heat erasable pen on the inside, because the fabric is always lighter. Now when you actually draw with your template, you're going to pop your template onto your fabric. You're going to draw around. I'll take my black pen. So onto your main fabric, you're going to draw around this outside edge. You're going to remember to pop your notches in there, and your dart lines in here as well, the little dot there so you know where you're lining up to, and then you're going to flip it over, and then you're going to draw around again. When it comes to doing the interfacing, it's slightly different. So all you're going to do there is you're going to put your template up to the fold. So instead of doing one then flipping, I've folded my interfacing in half. It does fold beautifully, a bit like card. So I thought, well, we might as well. So I'm lining up, do you see that centre line there against my fold? And I'm actually going to draw into my seam line. So this is where you would normally stitch. Now, and it even says seam line there. I'll turn this around in a second so you can see. But the thing is, we don't really need to have the interfacing going right up to the edge of the seams. There's little point, and it adds bulk. So if I just lay this back down again, so I've just drawn through all of these lines here, and it says seam line here. You can see the other little template there as well for the lining, and the main fabric, the gusset here. So all of that is there on there for you. And again, I wouldn't bother putting all these lines down, because when you iron this down onto your lining, it's all going to disappear. So there we are. So now you're going to cut round that. So the next part is the stitching. So let's just bring our pieces in so you can see how far we've got. So here we go. So this is the main part of the bag, which has the interfacing on the back. You can see where, I haven't pressed this, you can see where I've drawn there, and I've done my pleating. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I've done the same with my lining as well, so both pieces have the pleating in. There we go, and that's one to do. I've also stitched around the little gusset. So there is the gusset stitched around. You can see that I've snipped off all the corners, I've machined around 1/4 inch, and this is the one that I've turned right side round, ready to insert into the bag. The other piece is the channel that you're going to put your bars across that come with the hardware. So this part here, there we go. And all you're going to do there is stitch here and here, and turn right side round, which is what I've done with this piece, and that's now ready to go into the bag. So all I'm going to do now is stitch this one together so you can see how those darts go. So this is what I'm going to show you how to do the darts. So you've got the shaping there, you've drawn in your lines, there's your little dot. So literally all you're going to do is fold that in half, and you're going to have your little dot right on that crease there, right on that fold, and you're going to stitch along there. So it's under the machine, you don't need to worry about a locking stitch, and you're just going to go. And when you come down to the bottom, because it's a pleat, you need to just do a little locking stitch. So there's one done. Okay, second one, again, just fold it in along that line there. You've got your lines to guide you. Make sure your little circle is right down the bottom there on that fold line. And again, start at the top. Don't need to worry about a locking stitch. Down to the bottom, just follow the lines that you've drawn. And a little back stitch just to hold. And there we are, there are our pleats done, and all you need to do now is press those over so it's nice and neat. And if we look at the one that I've already done, you can see that those have been pressed over and ready to stitch. So just to recap what I've already done, so what I've done is I've put my right sides together of my main bag. So if I show you inside my main bag, and I've stitched from this notch here all the way around to this notch here. On my lining, I've attached my little channels to take my metalware, which is over here. Okay, so those pieces there. So I've attached my channels, and I've also done the same. I've turned this right side round now, but I've stitched from that piece there to there, left a gap for turning from there up to there. So that's all I've done so far. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually stitch these channels down. So I'm going to just do a top stitch, or you can hand stitch if you want, right across, as close as you can get to the fold of your channel. So that's the next part. I'm going to do that now on both sides. Then what I'm going to do is pop this bag inside of my main piece, and I'm going to stitch all the way around. So all the way around the gusset part, all the way around the top, round the gusset, all the way around the top to completely enclose that. And then I'm going to use my gap here to turn the bag through, and we're almost done. So if you remember, I was going to top stitch these little channels down, which is what I did. I top stitched those down onto the lining. So don't forget, you can hand stitch these if you want to. I've just top stitched with my machine. It doesn't come through to the other side because we did that on the lining. Then what I did, I stitched all the way around. So all of this top part, and I did explain that just before, that I was going to go all the way around. What that does is that encases the actual channels as well. So can you see that? Those channels are there, and they're actually open. So when you put your hardware through, all of those are going to take the hardware. There we go, it goes all the way through. And because we haven't got any raw edges or anything to catch, then that actually fits beautifully. Before we do that, there's one more little job we need to do. Remember the little gussets that we made? So all you're going to do now is you're going to stitch those into there. So all you're going to do is you can either stitch them in as you go around, so leave this seam open, or do what I've done, stitch the whole thing together, turn the right side round, and then if you start at the point, you're going to hand stitch those. If I bring that over to this camera here, now I haven't pressed mine beautifully yet, so what you're going to do is that you're going to take your little gusset and you're going to hand stitch that, or top stitch, machine that down onto that piece there. Okay, so from there all the way around to there, they're going to be hand stitched. And then what you're going to do is turn this bag that way, and these little pieces here you're going to stitch down, and it says it quite clearly in the instructions, you'll be able to see. So those little two tabs there get stitched down just on that edge there. If I just bring that across, so it gets stitched just along here. Let me show you on the instructions. So that's the piece I'm talking about there. So you've hand stitched that all the way around, and now you're just stitching those little bits there. And this is where your hardware is going to slot in. So on this this part here, these are the pieces that are going to slot into that. Okay, so once you've done all that, this is what you've made. Beautiful, isn't it?